This lecture is going to be great. It is a twofold lecture. All other parts are already released. These are the final chapters of my lecture series. The first part will be very short and give an overview of the Mushroom-Tek that I designed. As you probably know, there are three main DIY designs that I share with you. A heating system for an incubator, a controlled Martha and a controlled monotube, which can be easily upgraded to a complete Martha. The Martha was my biggest tech project. It contains different design chapters covering the controller, the ventilation system, a DIY humidifier and illumination possibilities. In each video I give out a detailed bill of material and also mention the main production and assembly tips. That was the first part. In the now following bigger second part we dive deep into the how-to aspects. The ++ stands for the wide range of advices that I will give out. Every topic is a complex topic if one just looks deep enough. I will show you know how any complex topic with a relation to manufacturing can be approached. One divides it into easier to handle section. Divide and conquer is the name of this approach. One will always have technological aspects, next to organizational and human-based topics. We will cover all these topics in this lecture. I chose the Zen circle to illustrate a 360-degree view upon the topic. The Zen circle is also a good fit, because it relates to the production philosophy of Kaizen. During creating this lecture, I realized that I am a kind of Kaizen maximus in every possible way. The Kaizen philosophy is drawn from the Japanese word kai, which means continuous, and Zen meaning improvement or wisdom. Kaizen is a daily process, the purpose of which goes beyond simple productivity improvement. It is also a process that, when done correctly, humanizes the workplace, eliminates overly hard work, and teaches people how to perform experiments on their work using the scientific method and how to learn to spot and eliminate waste in business processes. In all, the process suggests a humanized approach. The idea is to nurture the company's people as much as it is to praise and encourage participation in Kaizen activities. This video will cover a 360-degree guidance set. We will start with tech advice, then look into organizational aspects and finish with general human advices. Each chapter contains 3 sub-items. Tech-wise, we need to learn some basics about electricity, electrical safety, and I will give some general manufacturing advices. The organizational section will cover shop floor and general management topics to lay the needed basics if one wants to achieve a waste-reduced production setup. The last sub-item will investigate how one would scale its mushroom operations. Since a coin has 2 sides, we cannot neglect the soft topic of general human behavior, and thus we will look at how to stay human-centered in this modern tech world. Even if everything can be reduced to processes, they are still partly performed by fellow human beings. In the end we will explore what mindset would be beneficial for future success and finish up with a discussion about some elders of significance and Zen-related philosophers. Here you see the complete overview. You may pause to check it out. You can always use the jump marks to skip parts you already know. I hope you are happy with the topics I chose, as it was not that easy to create a value-adding storyline that is able to cover and combine these wide-ranging topics. As always, there is a PDF script that you can download. Hey! My name is Daniel, I am from Germany, and I will be your host. At the end of the lecture you will understand why I always asked you to contribute or to donate something. Remember, I always asked you to support any good project, not necessarily mine. Let's look at the needed basics of electricity. If you have no understanding at all of electricity, then I would advise you to check out this great playlist. You will learn how voltage, resistance, and current are related and can be easily calculated. One can either use the formula voltage equals current multiplied with resistance, or you just learn the electricity triangle. This is an important and useful concept one should always be aware of. Second important point of knowledge is to understand electrical power. Power is voltage multiplied with the current. If you want to enhance your electrical system, you should always check if your components are designed for your intended power level. If you want to save some money, then you should also understand electrical energy. Since you pay your kilowatt-hour consumption, you should be able to perform little calculations with it and know how to measure it. It is really not difficult. Since you will plug your system into 110 volt or 230 volt, and all my designs and many tech design work with 12 volt, you should understand the concept of a relay. With that nice device you can control bigger circuits with just 12 volt low voltage circuits. A transformer is also often used. If you want to change your plug-in voltage down to your DIY circuit voltage, you will need at least one transformer. To choose the correct one, you now can apply your knowledge of electrical power. Let's look at the safety aspects of electricity. All my tech designs are in 12 volt. That means, you are completely safe using it. You do not need to be afraid, if you only touch the side that comes out of the transformer. Everything that goes into the transformer should be handled very carefully and thoughtfully. So, what will hurt you? You will feel currents above 42 volts. Thus, you should stay in the 12 volt to 24 volt range. This is normally used for many controlling circuits. Currents above 10 milliamps already cause a severe shock. You can look up the resistance value of the human body, take the voltage of the circuit you are working with, and then use Ohm's law to calculate the current that would flow, if you touch and short circuit the system. If you watched all these videos, you learned already a lot. So, these cables do not look good. When you connect your transformer to your normal house voltage system, then you should use an ordinary cable cord that you took off from an old electrical machine. This way you will use the correct cable diameter, and everything will be good on the input side of the transformer. There are many tables that will give you the allowed current in relation to wire diameter, wire length, type of isolation and so on. If you are interested, Google it. Now we will look at manufacturing related topics. The shown stripping tool is fairly useful, but he is shilling another one. I have the shown one, and it works great. Here you see the tool. It is good for stripping the insulation and to giving a clean cut to the wires. This is the tool he is chilling. Also, a good one, but much more expensive. His other tips are valid. Here you see a cable cord that you can also use to connect a transformer to your house system. Heat shrink tubes are great and should be used. They are cheap, and if you solder a connection, you just tube it. That's it. Very reliable. Yha is a tool maker. You do not necessarily buy their tools. The video is great, and the tool also. If you use a connector that has no cage clamp, you always use wire end sleeves on your cables. When using these kind of cage clamp connectors, one uses just the stranded wires without wire end sleeves. These connectors are used in electronics and often in combination with a Raspberry Pi or an Arduino controller. They are great. You buy them as a set first. You have a special crimping tool and then can assemble the desired connectors. Very cheap way to create a connection. Of course, soldering is still a thing. It is a very fast way to make a permanent connection and also used to connect different components to a conductor board. Here practice is key, but sufficient enough results can be easily created also by a newbie. Now we will check out 3D printing. Teaching Tech is a great YouTube channel. This guide is all you need to start with 3D printing, even if the Ender 3 printer is not so new anymore. This is a great depiction of the importance of bed leveling. The more time to spend to set up your printer with good parameter, the better the results will be. You will mainly use .stl files. They go into a slicer and there the G code is created. That is the code that the machine can read. There are many slicer, but Cura is still a good choice. Here you see a demo print that is done to check the leveling of the bed. If the print is not good, then one has to adjust the corner where the layer is too thick or too thin. If you want to buy a new 3D printer, I would recommend the Ender 3 V2 Neo. It is very easy to assemble. and also has a good documentation and community support. It also can easily be upgraded. It comes with an auto-leveling system. That way, it is nowadays very simple to set up the printer and to find the good parameter. It is also very easy to change them if needed, due to testing different types of filament material for printing. Since I used in my design two simple controller, we will now investigate how they are programmed. This is the timer for controlling the lighting in the Martha tent. The video is extensive. It shows how the wiring is done and at the end how to program the target time. This is the humidity controller. A little bit long the video, but you will find that it is very easy to use this controller. Setup is nothing special. We reached the second big topic. The organizational side of any endeavor is never to be neglected, if one wants to have enduring success. If you never thought about production-related topic, you should start to think in processes. Everything is a process with inputs and outputs. If these processes are not controlled, then they will control you and create waste. You should know the difference between a pull organized process and a push organized process. Do not make just everything nice for your mushrooms. Also make everything nice and effortless for yourself and your helping hands. This video is a kind of a very fast summary. It just gives you the 14 principles. You could research each and would get a lot out of it. For me, the most basic element of the lean production philosophy is the 5S method. You should study it and always apply it. It will transform your workspace and your working attitude to the better. We will focus on lead time, also called cycle time. This concept is most important for you. The cycle time works always in interplay with takt time. These time concepts needs to be understood, if one wants to work customer-centered. Please make some effort to understand these time concepts. They approach your production process from both sides. Without understanding this concept, you will for sure create waste. Remember, overproduction is also a kind of waste. There is no need to start with 50 petri dishes and ending up with too many bags of sawdust. Please know what you are doing and also when you have to do it. Now, after having understood some basics, please dive into the theory of value stream mapping. This video explains how to set up a value stream. Since you only grow mushrooms, it is very easy, but when you know all the times for your processes, time for growing, and so on, you can start to design your system in a lean way. To do that pull-orientated, you will also need the concept of Kanban. Kanban is great and very easy if understood. Just implement it. No real challenge involved, if you understood the concept. Here the implementation of the Kanban concept shown by a shop. I also use this process whenever I order basic material or start to grow larger amounts of mushrooms. That was all too much and too fast? Yes, you are right, sorry for that. Just take your time, watch the videos and do some research. But in the end it all comes down to just two things: efficiency and effectiveness. Efficiency is to do things the right way. That means you are fast doing them, and you can do it without wasting more than needed. But you also need to do the right things. If you start running very fast, but you are running in the wrong direction, then it was not the right thing to do. This is a kind of working definition. Efficiency means the achievement any of goals, important or not, and optimizing the used resources. Effectiveness means the achievement of the important goals and not just negligible goal. After these short videos, I will now advise you to watch 2 longer lectures. Here is an extensive talk about lean management. Since we only looked at tools so far, now you will learn that there is a whole thinking philosophy involved. As the mushroom uses agar, grain, and sawdust, you can also grow through different thinking schools. Have fun with it. In this TEDx talk, Mike Morrill tries to apply Kaizen at home. The Kaizen philosophy is drawn from the Japanese word kai, which means continuous, and zen meaning improvement or wisdom. This concept is also at the core of this lecture and of all my tech approaches. Discipline and respect are always aspects that are often neglected during engagement. Even more so if the engagement happens in the virtual space. Please always try to be decent human beings. This aspect of Kaizen will be covered in the last big chapter. Now to the aspect of scaling your operation. Scaling is easily done. Right now you are learning how to grow mushrooms. You learn how to build a Martha, how to nurture them, find the correct grow parameter, keep them healthy, ensure your quality and so on. You already achieved a lot. Scaling is nothing compared to what you already did. This talk will give you some basic aspects. I would also advise you to read the book The Goal by Mr. Goldratt. Because, as soon as you want to scale, or even improve, you will need to understand the concept of bottlenecks. There is always a bottleneck. But, if you did not understand the concept of cycle time and takt time, you will not be effective in your endeavors. In addition, local system optimization can be a problem, but with the correct mindset you achieved by implementing Kaizen into your working mind, you are well prepared. So, now, how to scale? Find your bottleneck and improve it. That may be a bigger tent. So just build a bigger one. Then the bottleneck may become your humidifier or your autoclave. Behave like the mushroom, continue to lean and to improve. Soon you will also have solved the next particular problem. But remember not to only work on efficiency, also work on your effectiveness. Maybe your marketing will become very soon your next bottleneck, because now you can produce a lot of mushrooms, but do not have enough demand because you did not invest sufficiently in advertising to win some new customers. The bottleneck can never be removed, that is why Kaizen promotes a continuous approach. Now we reached the last chapter. This video would not complete if one would ignore this big and fundamental chapter. The transition from Kaizen to this section is quite smooth since this chapter has Zen at its core. But first we will again take a step back. Since we differentiated between efficiency and effectiveness, I also want to differentiate between different kinds of stupidity. To be ignorant is kind of normal. Everyone is ignorant of specific knowledge in the beginning if one sets out to learn new things. With knowledge comes responsibility. To be deluded means to have access to the right knowledge but to choose not to act upon it. If one wants to be resistant to change, one becomes easily deluded. That is not good way to life. Life just is. One cannot always be in denial. Here you see two nice examples of stupid people. Ignorance or delusion. Who knows? The person in the second picture should have known better. Why not just think a little bit before acting mindless? These examples are also classic. I do not think that they are funny, because this is so delusional and plain and simple, just stupid. Kaizen is all about changing how one thinks so that one also acts differently. The acting should never be ignorant or delusional. You should always try to do the right things. Do not be a monkey that just sees nothing. Check out the video, there is more than one layer of meaning to the apes. The concept is simple yet deep. These are wise words. But it is hard to always do the right thing. But first, one needs to know what the right thing is, only then you can act accordingly, be it in tech, in organizing your production or in behaving among other human beings. Back to tech basics. There is a field that is involved in industrial design, that means how work can be designed in a humane way. And it is simple. Do not be greedy. You just do things the right way. If you have a bad working position, you change it. You do not accept it. There are many factors involved. Just check out this playlist if you are interested. If one develops an active mind, many improvements can be implemented without needing big analysis in advance. Just never accept the current situation and always strive to make things better for everyone. Greed is also not to be accepted as it mainly focuses on short-time goals. So, what is the kind of mindset that I have in mind? What would be a Zen mindset? First, you always need the willingness to inform yourself. That means transcend and mistrust ideology. That is how Terence McKenna puts it. It means for me, do your own research. Or sometimes it is just, read the manual stupid. Try not to depend on the meaning or interpretation of other people. Penetrate the stuff you are interested in or involved with. Use your own mind. That demands to reclaim your mind. You should be the captain on your own boat. If you do not have a plan, then you can sure that you are part of someone else's plan. So, what to do? Stop consuming all the time and start to create. Start with one thought at a time. Do not just buy into thought trains and causalities given out by other people. Why should they know better? Okay, you may say, but the situations in my life are so bad, it is all so difficult. Yes, so what? You do not know what it may be good for. You just have experiences. To coin them good or bad, that is up to everyone by themselves. Be your own captain. Good things can come out of a perceived misfortune. Remember, nobody knows what is going on. It is much too complex and integrated. All you can do is to relax, be kind to everybody and do your thing. I am sure your thing will be great. So, what are your goals in life? Do not wait for life to happen, and chase after it, only to realize that it was your life all the way long. There is nothing more to be found. That is why the greatest skill is to be relaxed, and to accept what life brings to you. If you have wind, you put up your sail, if you don't, okay then you will have to row. As long as you know your goal, and where you want and need to go, then everything will be fine. So, what is the goal, you ask? That is where it becomes tricky. For production we already answered this question. Since Kaizen includes Zen, the answer here will be the same. The first part of this poem is very nice and tries to answer the what is the right goal question. The great way is not difficult for those who have no preferences. When love and hate are both absent, everything becomes clear and undisguised. Make the smallest distinction, however, and heaven and earth are set infinitely apart. If you wish to see the truth, then hold no opinion for or against. The struggle of what one likes and what one dislikes is the disease of the mind. The great way is equal to the middle way. You just accept that you may be started on one side, so just start moving to the other side and stop when you reach the middle. Do not stay in extreme position. There is no fortune to be found in extremes. Now you have an even deeper understanding of Zen and can understand and appreciate why lean management is all about avoiding extreme and risky situations in your production process, because they involves material and spiritual waste. In this section we will try to corner Zen. This is a very difficult task. We will investigate some edlers of significance and look at their approaches to it. There is a saying. The mind is like a parachute. It does not work unless it is open. Then who can show us this parachute or mind? Many tried. And there are many approaches. One approach is to use mind-altering drugs. Another is to go into isolation and meditate. Both approaches can be combined. The goal of each approach is to experience what cannot be expressed. There is a saying that goes like this. The one who talks about it does not have it, and the one who has it does not talk about it. Many that seek this kind of paradox Zen wisdom add to their favored approach the lecture of acknowledged wisdom. This way you have the interplay of external and internal thoughts and memes. I tend to the ways that have been proven to work by many people before us. I would be quite hesitant to ingest newly invented drugs and equally hesitant to ingest new ideas of a guru who just showed up on the zine and claims to have the only keys to whatever kingdom he may be trying to sell. Big personalities that come to mind and that use the different approaches are, for example, Terence McKenna, who talks a lot about the mind altering that happens when one takes psychedelic drugs and how this can be positive and constructive. Ram Dass is a kind of in-between person that started out with psychedelics and ended up with the ancient concepts of solitude and meditation. I put Alan Watts more on the solitude meditation side because he mainly uses your mind to help you to discover your mind, that is no mind, and thus no parachute is needed because nothing is to be opened. Redpin is a translator and does not add much content by himself but tries to bring the great Zen texts of wisdom into existence in the English language. Terence is a bard, and the mushroom is his muse. He can just talk, and talk and talk. You will wonder how he got his vocabulary. He is never tiring and will challenge you existing ideas and will try to implement some new ones. Though he is not right on all points, time spent with Terence will always add value to your life. Here are some comments that I found under this video. If you do not know Terence, check him out. You may be surprised. To talk without being talking, that is a kind of point that you can attribute to any of them. Bet the way Terence brings his ideas forward is unique to him. Terence is the one I would recommend to the ones of you with a psychedelic background. Alan Watt is also great, and very entertaining. He even depicts himself as an entertainer, because he tells you nothing. After hearing a talk from him, you will wonder, what did he just tell me? His is much more Zen orientated, that means as much Zen as is possible for a Western audience. He can of course not just lift up a flower and you would smile, because that may be all it takes. Alan is the one I would recommend to people with an academic background. He always tries to point your mind to your mind, and away from your ego. That is what you cling to. That is what you think your personality is. Since you cannot bite your teeth, and not clap with one hand, he tries to corner your mind from every possible angle to show you, that there is nothing to be found. Just accept that you are, enjoy the ride and do the right things that have to be done when they have to be done. The mind can of course not be cornered. And not be shown. The saying involves often a finger pointing to the moon. It is not the moon but helps you to find the moon. But you should of course never mistake the moon for a finger. Mistrust gurus. Go for direct experiences. Ram Dass, or by his original name Richard Alpert, is quite different. In his early years, he could be placed close to psychedelics and Zen philosophy but went on a devotional path. He has a guru and that is his center. Still his talks are filled with many nice thoughts about everything. He is able to connect different pearls of wisdom into one unified net. He leans into many traditions. Since he spent quite some time in India, his talks are also historically interesting. The Be Here Now podcast was absolutely fun to listen to. The book is also nicely designed. To be 100% devoted to the chosen path that is his way. Devotion. He is also a big fan of charity and giving stuff away. From that point of view, the beggar monk that asks for money is performing an act of charity to the one he asks, because he gives him the opportunity to give something away. The goal is to help to empty the cup in order to be able to use it freely and not to be filled up all the time. Anyone who likes devotion and charity will find a Gariat tutor in Richard Alpert. I have to admit, that Bill Porter is my favorite. He translates old texts under the name Red Pine. He is a down-to-earth expert and a real champion of thought about everything Zen. In this book he gives a great introduction into Zen and its history. Zen came from India to China and then moved to Japan. Toyota incorporated Zen into their production philosophy and now it is everywhere. His focus is Buddhism and how to work in solitude. His lectures are very good but sadly not well attended. In China many hermits practice in solitude. There is nothing wrong with being alone. But there is everything wrong with being where you not want to be. Sometimes it just takes time to find out what the right place for yourself is. In China female hermits always live together in pairs. Male hermits live alone. Since the COVID isolation many of us found out, if they are good equipped to be alone or if they need company to stay psychological healthy. Being forced into a not so freely chosen situation of solitude can have damaging effects. I for example put my mind into creating the content of this channel, that helped me a lot. After all the video links that I gave you, here's some great books. These books are the pure basic theory books of Zen. No intermediary needed. This avoids the guru. The original Zen texts are quite alienating for Western minds, I would advise you to check out Alan Watts before reading these books. Here you see some main Zen texts that originated in India. These books take about the same topics, but they are from a Chinese perspective. I found the Japanese or Korean perspective to be quite as similar. In ancient Europa there also were many people talking with different words about the same things. Of course, they present a more devotional paths. The funny thing is, that Terence McKenna, Alan Watts, and Ram Dass mix up all the shown books and add whatever they seem worth to add. I am sorry that I was not able to add perspectives from further parts of the world. To be in accordance with the other chapters, I obviously focused the philosophy part on Zen. But as you have noticed, the concept of Kaizen allowed us to cover a lot in this lecture. I do not know if many people will listen to this lecture. But I wanted to produce it, because otherwise my whole lecture series would not have been complete. Let me explain you what I mean by this. This lecture, for example, started with hard or strong technical topics and moved on through semi-hard process-based organizational advices and finished in the very soft part that originates in the human mind. Thus, we includes everything. Maybe not equally deep, but missing depth can be made up by everyone on its own. The same way we approached experiences. The individual experience is the basis of the Zen philosophy. Not mundane experiences are sought after in solitude or by enhancing oneself with drugs. In this lecture I did not favor any side but presented both. Tradition can be modern psychedelic or old scripture based. Thus, any scriptures were included, also African or Arabic ones, even if I did not mention them specifically. Creating can be polarized between learning new stuff and manifesting new stuff. I tried to balance my lectures to help you understand why I designed my tech the way I did, and also to teach you how to build things. The importance of this slide should also clear now. Since many people are in their daily life overly consuming things, they neglect the part of creating culture. But culture is also created by giving. That is the opposite of taking. With these slides at the beginning, I was trying to point you to a maybe neglected side of your personality and help you with integrating and accepting it. One can conclude that I showed you always two doors. There are always two doors present on any aspect of my 24 lectures. Please note that I do not favor any door. You can choose as you please. If one only wants the tech, okay. If one only wants recipes for growing, also fine. Another one only liked the part about Terence McKenna, also great. Please remember, always to be kind. There is so much suffering out there. Unless you have not walked in someone else's boots, how would you know why they behave the way they do? If you favor the door that you chose over the other possible door, then you devaluate everyone that took a different approach. That is not the kind way. To be kind means to be relaxed. With this softness you can then focus on your Kaizen and improve the things that you love. These things you can then project into the world and see them grow and spread joy. After that I have given out a lot of my guiding principles. I am of course now very much interested in your way of live your life. What are your guiding principles? What centers you? What gives you hope? What helps you in hard times? Please share your thoughts with us. With this lecture I complete a 360-degree view, that is completely centered on the mushroom. We did for real covered everything. Of course, one could also deepen everything even further. I hope you had as much fun listening to me as I had talking to you. Thank you for being a part of my life. Thank you for spending your time with me. Auf Wiedersehen.